evening, everybody. Jason here, behind the scenes, waiting just a little bit as we are counting down. Wilbert in St. Martin, great to see you. Bill in Washington, D.C. Glenn, good evening to you as well. Robin Mayberry in ABQ, great to see you as well. Awesome, so good to see you all. Luis, great to see you. KC Coaster fan, or sorry, KS Coaster fan, great to see you on here as well. Awesome, we will be going live here in, or we are live, I guess, but we'll be seeing each other here in just a second. I think it's, what, 4 minutes, 30 seconds. We're gonna be rolling. Username Personal Wings, great to see you on here. Marty Miller on the road in Tennessee, but always great to see you. Jennifer Gates, great to see you as well. Mary Martin in Savannah. You might get a little rain from the storm up there, huh, Mary? Good to see you all. Robbie, as always, my friend, great to see you as well. Who all else is out there, Magda? Will you scroll through for me? Brett Quick. Awesome to see you. Sim Pilot A6. Where is everybody watching from? That's important. Check in the chat so I can give you a little shout out. Good to see you. Hey, Holly, great to see you as well. Who else is out there, Magda? Let's scroll through. Brad Crow, Scott, Patricia, Luis, Micah, Daniel, Carrie, Brett Quick, Doug S, Jacob, Tony, LV Skyview is the username. Good to see you. Hey, I feel like I just saw Jeremy today. Jeremy, congrats on all your success. Again, this is twice in one day, Jeremy. It's a pretty great day, huh? So good to see so many of you. Check in. Where on earth are you watching from, and how long until we get started here, Magda? 3 minutes, 24 seconds. We'll be back. Just less than 2 minutes and we'll be there. Hey, Blake, Scott, good to see you. Rachel, as always, great to see you. Micah, multitasker over there, working VATSIM Tower too. Jim, who's on the EAA Chapter 157 YouTube. Good to see you, Jim, as well. Username Tim Does Stuff. Yes, Tim does do stuff. Good to see you. John Ott, Todd Hoyle in Austin, Texas. Great to see you. Joseph, I'm not even gonna try your last name, Joseph, in Illinois. Allie, Jose, hey, Lori Hansen, Jeremy, Danny Carson in Tennessee, Go Rocky Top. Good to see you as well. Hey, we are rolling here. I can't even see what the timer says, but I promise I'll be ready. It's about 1 minute, and we'll be talking all about how to maximize your EFB, electronic flight bag. I'll see you all face to face in 1 minute. M0A Online Ground School, Jason Shepard here. So thankful, so blessed, so truly honored to be here with you all on this beautiful evening. Well, maybe I shouldn't say beautiful evening. We'll get to that in a second. We are very much in Florida, very much in the middle of a hurricane, and Lord willing, internet's going to stay strong and power staying on. So that is what we are hoping for right now. If we mysteriously go away, I promise you we're totally okay. There could just be power issues. We'll look at that weather here in just a bit, but so thankful, so blessed to be here with you all. There's a lot of places you could be this evening. Well, and you're sitting here hanging out on YouTube, on Facebook, finding different ways to better yourself as a pilot. That's something we certainly don't take lightly. Tonight, I titled this presentation EFB Essentials, but truly, whether you're just getting into flying with an EFB is electronic flight bag, basically flying with a tablet. I'm going to use the word iPad because most of you are flying with an iPad, although I don't want to offend the few Android people out there, but we'll get to that as well. But that's what we're really diving into here today, so really looking forward to that. Let's give some shout outs over in the chat. When you see me looking this way, I'm saying hi to Richard, Brian T. from Windsor, Ontario. Eric Pittman. I haven't seen Eric Pittman in a long time. He's like Mr. Publix now. I don't see him much anymore. Good to see you. Telvin is always great to see you. Joe Castaneda, Capra, great to see you. Gary Taylor, Ron Dunlap, Barrett Quick. Let's see. Hey, Joseph in Ocala. Great to see you, Joe, as well. Hope ROTC is going well for all the kids up there. Michael Bellino. Was that right? In Roanoke, Virginia. Tony in Miami, great to see you. Mark with a C, howdy right back to you as well. John Dela Cruz passed his flight instructor instrument written test today. What do you say? A 94%. It's just showing off now at this point. Congratulations to you, Mr. Dela Cruz. Great to see you on here. Danny Carson, as always. Blaine Hughes, great to see you all. So listen. Hey, if you're not, I'm sure you are already, but be sure to, if you're watching on YouTube, to subscribe so you get all the alerts whenever we go live, or like and follow on Facebook, wherever you are watching this, so you can continue to consume that M0A content. So we've been going live really at the end of each month. You know, it's the year of 23 Mike Zulu. We've been doing a lot of giveaways, and well, our giveaway this time around, hopefully you've already downloaded it. If not, you only have 2 days left to download it. And that is a new book that we released, just an ebook form about this very topic. And that is called Paper to Pixel. Type in me in the chat who has already downloaded their copy of Paper to Pixel. I didn't ask if you already read it. Who has it downloaded? You need to lock it in. It's only going to be free for 2 more days. Then after that, we're going to make it a resource for our online ground school members. So online ground school members, you'll always be able to get it. But if you're not a ground school member, this is your opportunity to get it. By the way, links are in the description on YouTube and on Facebook of this live stream. So go ahead, get that downloaded. Magda just put it on YouTube as well. And maybe she can put it on Facebook if you wouldn't mind as well for everybody over there. If not, links are in the description there as well. But again, I'm not asking for a book report just yet. I'm just asking you to get it downloaded so you can get that locked in there as well. But truly just overwhelmed, not only at the amount of downloads, but the feedback we've received on that. You know, our goal in everything we do, our goal in this live stream, our goal in that book is truly just to save one life. If you're thinking, Jason, that's a weird goal. First off, how do you track it? And secondly, how is teaching someone about ForeFlight or Garmin Pilot going to save a life? Well, you'll see that here today as we're going to do a live, just on the fly, unrehearsed, not unprepared, but unrehearsed is the right word to use, weather analysis. And I'm going to show you how I do that on ForeFlight. We're going to make an informed and smart go or no-go decision here, because this is the honest truth. And our ground school members know this so well. I can give you all the skills. I can make you a great stick and rudder pilot. I can make you the next Chuck Yeager, Amelia Earhart. You know, you fill in the blank of your aviation mentor and idol. But all of that is in vain if I can't teach you to make good decisions and do something with that data. Today, I'm going to show you how to get all that data, and I'm going to try to end by showing you how to make informed and smart decisions with that data here as well. Before we dive into it, do I have any first timers on the webinar? Type in me in the chat. If this is your first time ever hanging out with myself live and the M0A team here and Magda and everybody else, type in me in the chat so I can give you a little shout out as well. And hopefully we'll make this a little bit more of a routine. For those first timers, I know many of you know about M0A, but we're one of the leading providers of online ground school education and just continuing to build on this idea of a good pilot is always learning. And truth be told, this isn't just like some course here and here, you know, good luck. It is truly a family. Speaking of that family, by also typing in me in the chat, where is that family? Where are those online ground school members? Eric, Pittman, Holly, everybody type in me in the chat so I can say hey to all our online ground school members out there as well. I get to meet with them each and every week through webinars similar to this, and it's just such a blessing to get to share that as well. So thank you to our amazing online ground school members. And if you're not a member, well, you can simply go to m0atrial.com to take a free 2-week trial to check it all out. Private, instrument, commercial, now CFI, right? FOI. And as John Dela Cruz, who typed in me in the chat, will tell you, it helped him just a little bit on some of those written tests and check rides, didn't it, John? So Jeremy just passed his check ride as well. Just so many success stories. So very, very proud of our online ground school members and what they're building for careers and hobbies and wherever they wish to take aviation. All right, enough of the intros. Let's dive into it. But before we dive into it, I need your full participation. I know some of you, the dog's barking right now, the kids need dinner. I saw Micah was being a VATSIM controller out of Nashville right now, I think you said. I realize we're all multitasking, but can we all agree just to lean in for the next 45 to 50 minutes and play full out? Like when I ask a question, you're interactive in the chat over there. You're asking questions as well. And by the way, thank you for everybody who filled out that registration questionnaire. I literally built this presentation based off of that, so thank you. But I just ask that you play full out. We are here in the middle of a hurricane right now with the internet hanging on, with the power hanging on. We are playing full out. So I hope you came to play full out as well. If you're ready to play full out, will you type in me in the chat so I know you are ready, you are engaged, you are all in, and we will dive into this, hurricane or not. We are all in here. There's absolutely no doubt. So thank you, Smitty. Tyler, great to see you twice in one day. Dr. Bill, twice in one day. Great to see you. Shane is ready. That's so good. Jamil's ready. Michael's ready. Parker's ready. Danny Carson, you're always ready though, Danny Carson. That's not even a fair question. Marilyn, great to see you at Oshkosh. Can't wait to come back down to Naples. Mary Martin's ready. Yamil, awesome, awesome. All right, Sally. Sierra, hey Sierra, good to see you. Maria, awesome. So we're ready. Eric Peterson, great to see you. We're ready to play full out. Let's dive into it here today. Before I get to the iPad, we got to start with just the basics. Let's build a strong foundation here, and let's start with a question. The most popular question is, well, which iPad, honestly. And maybe if you want to keep playing full out and chime in with which iPad you are using. And listen, I know I used the word iPad, and I know I probably just offended an Android user somewhere. I'm sorry, I guess, right? Listen, I know people with Android phones that still have iPads. If you want to use ForeFlight, which has so much market share based on our analysis, now owned by Boeing, you're going to see that an iPad is the superior device for all your flight training needs. No, not sponsored or anything like that, but I currently fly with an iPad Pro, the 9-inch iPad Pro. If you look in the chat, there's a lot of minis. iPad mini is probably the most popular one that you're going to see popping in here as well. Steven does have a Samsung i7 Lite. I don't know what that is, but it sounds, I have a Samsung TV, so I'm not like anti-Samsung by any means, you know? Anyways, but everyone is welcome to the hurricane party, okay? Even if you're an Android user, if you're still using like a Palm Pilot, I don't know if we can invite you to the BlackBerry. I don't know if you're welcome to the hurricane party, but it's all good. So you're gonna see the Mini probably being one of the most popular iPads used in the flight deck, is the politically correct term now to use with that. My only limitation to the iPad mini, first off, why do I love the iPad mini? I love the iPad mini because we fly really tiny airplanes and space is limited. Unless you're flying a Cirrus or an Airbus, something with a side stick here, you don't have a lot of real estate on your lap in front of you, or on the yoke even for that matter. So I like a mini from that standpoint. The only reason I wouldn't suggest getting a mini is maybe your eyesight is slightly challenged, let's say. Maybe you're getting better every day, but your eyesight is just slightly challenged. Yes, you can pinch to zoom. Yes, you can do all that. But if you need a little more screen real estate, I would encourage bumping up to something like the Air or the smaller version of the Pro, which I believe is the 9.7 now as well. So that's just geeking out on that. The next question people always ask is, okay, do I need the LTE service? Listen, nobody wants an extra cell phone bill, but I'm here to tell you, if you can swing it, the answer is yes. Having LTE has not only enabled me to have an extra GPS on my iPad, but it's also enabled me and gotten me out of some jams in the past as well. I'm at some podunk airport, no offense to podunk airports, but I'm in the middle of nowhere airport, and I need to get, there is no FBO, there's nothing, I need to close a flight plan, I need to do something. I'm thankful that I'm able to hop on the iPad, get the weather information I need, and I have all that there. Update the charts, whatever that may be, it's there. It's just easy for me from that standpoint. And the last question on this topic is, well, how much storage do I need? I was just telling this to the online ground school members at 2 o'clock this afternoon. We do a member-only webinar every Tuesday. And I was sharing as much space as your wallet will allow, which I realize is a big statement, but this iPad you see here, all I do is fly on this iPad. That is all that happens on this iPad. Now, I used to have my email and have Slack and have Excel and have everything else, just work-life stuff. The kids had their games on it, right? And I was finding myself loading ForeFlight and ForeFlight just bogging down more and more and more. I said, you know what? It's time to have a work and a personal iPad and a dedicated flying iPad. You don't need to be that crazy with it, but and nowadays, with this, now they're talking the M3 chip and everything else, perhaps it'll be better. But for me, I have a dedicated flying iPad, and that is just all I do with it. So that is my soapbox story as to which iPad. Love the Mini. Air is probably a second choice, although I do personally fly with a Pro right now just because I wanted something a little bit more robust. I have just a dedicated flying iPad, the biggest size that your wallet will allow, and yes, I like having the cellular service on it, which is different than just saying, hey, I'm going to use my phone and hotspot to it or whatever it is, because sometimes that just doesn't always work as well. So let's now dive into what you maybe you came here for that, but I know some of you are looking for some really cool tricks, some really cool flight planning, and want to see this weather analysis that we're going to do here together. The reason I chose to demonstrate really an analysis of looking at weather tonight is, did you know if you look at AOPA's Joseph T. Null report, it shares year after year that weather is a contributing factor to 30 35% of GA accidents. I mean, just crazy, crazy stuff when you think about it. And yet, why? If 35%, and we have about 1,000 accidents every single year in general aviation, mid-900s, more like it. So if 350 of those, 360 of those are weather related, right? That is almost in our control. Not flying those conditions, not taking off when the wind is that way, not leaving those icing conditions. But you see, knowledge isn't power, knowledge is potential power. There's a lot of knowledge on this thing. There's a lot of wisdom on this thing. There's a lot of data. But if you don't know what to do with it to make those informed decisions, well, it's not helping anybody. Now, in addition to that, not only do you have to digest that knowledge, which we'll do here today, apply it and know what to do with it, which we'll also accomplish here today, you also have to learn this thing so it's not a distraction for you. I always love Avemco. Every year they release their accident data, and Avemco's they're a very cool insurance company. They're not a broker. They actually hold everything that they write. So they have very accurate data, and I like data. And they shared last year, listen to this stat, that 11% of their losses, like a loss, I'm talking totals, 11% of their losses are taxi losses. Do you know what a taxi loss is? Like, it's I'm taxiing along and I find my wingtip finds a fuel tank, or finds another airplane, or finds a hangar. Or we just had this happen at Naples not too long ago. Just head down, taxied into another airplane, pulling into the run-up area. I'm talking propeller to tail kind of action, not paying attention kind of stuff. Messing up 2 airplanes, 1 total, I believe. The other one they were able to fix. When you think that an insurance company says 11% of our losses are taxi losses, it's mind-boggling to me. And what it really says is 2 things. We're spending too much head down time. You've got so much great data right here, but you're so focused on, oh, why is that taxiway diagram doing that? Why don't I have geopositioning, georeferencing? Why is that happening? Why did that overheat? Or even fiddling with the G1000 or the FMS or whatever that may be. We are spending too much head down time. And what I need you to do is to learn this, we'll call it a tablet, learn this tablet forwards and backwards so you just know it, that when something happens, it's second nature to you. You know, many people ask, what's the difference between a ForeFlight or a Garmin Pilot or a WingX or a FlyQ, whomever it may be that you're looking at. They're all getting their weather from the same sources, the same government sources. The real difference is in the user interface and in the user experience. It's how the user flows work for you. What I really want you to do, if you haven't chosen an EFB yet, is to do the 30-day trial on all of them. See which one works best for you, and then once you have it, learn it and go all in. None of this flip-flopping back and forth, because you need to know it so well. Otherwise, these are going to end up serving more so as a distraction, and that is not what we want. Look at this from the NTSB reports that I literally pulled up today. This is a helicopter, but listen to this. The helicopter pilot reported that during an early morning flight, the visibility was good, but it was still dark. The helicopter pilot reported that the helicopter climbed out at about 300 feet above ground level, and she noticed her iPad was not showing her location. So we're 300 feet in the air, hovering, iPad's not showing location. So while attempting to fix the iPad, she inadvertently pushed the cyclic forward. I know we're not all helicopter pilots. The cyclic, it's kind of like the yoke. It's a poor, helicopter pilots are cringing right now, but the cyclic, that would actually cause the helicopter to go forward by pushing forward, not necessarily down like you would think, push the yoke forward, but it's going to cause the helicopter to leave that hover and move forward, which is logical because you're looking down and there's that reaction to kind of lean forward a little bit. Anyways, let's keep reading here. So while attempting to fix the iPad, she inadvertently pushed the cyclic forward. She reported that when she refocused her attention outside the helicopter, impact was intimate. and the helicopter impacted trees. The helicopter came to rest on its left side, facing the opposite direction of travel. The helicopter sustained substantial damage to the fuselage and both the rotor systems. The pilot reported in the recommendation section of the NTSB Pilot Aircraft Accident Report that the accident could have been prevented. I love the humility here. Could have been prevented by not allowing herself to become distracted during the flight. And the last sentence there just says there was nothing wrong with the helicopter before the accident. First off, golf clap for the humility. Very thankful to walk away from that one, and certainly learned a valuable lesson here. That could have ended up so much worse, right? We cannot be distracted when our iPad overheats or doesn't do what we want it to do or doesn't have our location. What is the old aviation mantra, right? It's aviate, navigate, then we communicate. But the first thing on there is always what? It's always to aviate. It's fly the airplane. Now, in the case of the helicopter, she was just hovering. But for most of you flying an airplane, you are hurtling a hunk of metal through the sky at 90 knots. There is no pause button. You have to learn this stuff here on the ground. And you have to fly the airplane first. So, that being said, let's learn a little bit more about that tablet. Magda, do you still have my tablet over there? Do you need me to airplane again? Let me grab a sip of tea, and we will be rolling. I love what Coach Ray said. Could we show that, Magda? He said, I try to brief my taxi route as best I can before the prop starts. Once the airplane starts, iPad goes away until cruise. You know, I love that. And I find myself doing that too, especially, you know, and Ray, you can relate to this, you know, flying up to Oshkosh, going into those unfamiliar airports, landing at Nashville, which should be like a Bravo. It's so busy there and so many different, they ran out of letters. They're on taxiway Alpha Alpha, taxiway Tango Tango. And Matt and I are just researching what route could they possibly give us first. As we're pre-flighting, we're even thinking about this as well. And that's just smart too. If you were on any of the live streams I tried to do up to Oshkosh, you saw my phone, you know, overheating. Has anyone ever done one of these? You pop out the Cessna 172 air vent and you hold your iPad like right there just to cool it off, or your phone. I've been there before. It's summertime. I mean, I know it's maybe starting to cool off a little bit, not here in Florida. But again, these are the things we have to ponder. So let's head over, let's look at the iPad, and we'll dive into all of this here together. So I've got us pulled up here, and let's go ahead and let me show you what everyone's been talking about here. There she is. Here, we're down in Naples right now. We're about to get whacked again, it looks like. So we'll hope that power is going to stay on and everything else as well. And we can, yeah, you can leave the chat. No, let's take the chat down, Magda, if that's okay. Thank you for asking. But there she is. It's impressive. I mean, that's the only thing you can really say about it here. So we're going to still flight plan here, and we are going to plan a fictitious flight from Naples up to Ocala, a route I've been flying quite a bit. Eric Pittman says hurricane no-go. How many of you would open up ForeFlight right now and go, yeah, it's a no-go? I hope it's a no-go. If I get any yeses in here, we need to talk after class, maybe as well. So anyways, we actually did, Magda and I earlier today, we were eating dinner. We had an early dinner, and I heard an airplane. And of course, nerdy me and Magda get FlightAware out. I will never release the type of airplane or the tail number. Someone flew from the Keys and went over Naples. It was like scud running at like 3,000 feet, leaving the Keys. I thought, oh my goodness. Yeah, trying to get away from a hurricane. Yeah, they had a good tailwind. But other than that, that's a no-go. You don't scud run. You don't scud run ever, but you don't scud run in a hurricane especially. I will not share the tail number, although I did screenshot it and plan on researching it later. All right, anyways, back to the hurricane, please, Magda. There it is. We are gonna plan here. Let's pretend, let's just for a second here, let's pretend, it looks like that. Life is good, okay. We're gonna flight plan from Naples to Ocala. And let's just say one of the first things I do is after I get our route in there, and I'll just kind of show you how I actually do that here. I go through and I actually type it in. So we'll go KAPF to KOCF. I'm fine doing this in 23 Mike Zulu. We'll go IFR. Let's look at some altitudes here to kind of see. Again, I don't know what ceilings are at or anything, but I can tell you I'll take a 43 knot tailwind all day long. So that makes the Ocala flight an hour 25, Magda. Wouldn't that be really, really nice? That shaved 35 minutes off the normal leg. So we'll get that in there. And one of the first things I like to do, Marty Miller said, I wouldn't even drive. I'm with you on that one. One of the first things I like to do is I like to look at airspace that I could be contending with here. So we're gonna leave Naples, we're gonna depart, and all of a sudden, bada boom, I got this guy in front of me. And having flown this route a lot, let me tell you, I think Fort Myers controllers are all class acts, but boy, are they busy. And there have been seasons where I have not gotten cleared. And let me tell you, I love 23 Mike Zulu, but she cannot climb above 4,500 feet or up to 4,500 feet to this VFR fast enough, especially with a tailwind pushing me in this case. So I just want to be prepared. I want to be prepared to either say, okay, if I don't get around that Charlie, I'm going to go out here to use like the Sanibel Lighthouse, which Eric Pittman and I have flown over together, to get around this airspace or something along those lines. And I can just flight plan that in there to have a backup plan for all of this. Because I know it's just a Charlie, but you'll make a mistake if you think it's just a Charlie. You don't always get cleared through that. The same is true on the way back to Naples sometimes. They keep you above the Charlie, and we call it the slam dunk approach, and you got to get down from 4,500 feet in a very, very short amount of time, as you can see here. In about 12 miles, you got to lose a ton of altitude. So just something to watch. So let's keep watching here. I assume I'd be over Punta Gorda. So that all looks good. We're continuing. I don't have any problems with my route. I see a little bit of Bravo action here. I'm going to kiss a little bit of Bravo. And where does this Bravo go up to? You see this guy here? Showing our Bravo starting at 3,000 feet up to 10,000 feet. So I've got a decision to make. Am I on flight following? Hopefully. Am I going to get cleared through that Bravo? Well, I'm not going to get cleared through it if I don't ask. Into a Class Bravo airspace, I need to hear those magic words. 23 Mike Zulu, you're cleared into Tampa's Class Bravo airspace. I can't hear aircraft calling standby. I can't hear, hey, just wait a second. I need to hear my tail number followed by the words cleared into Class Bravo airspace. All right, so if I'm not feeling warm and fuzzy about that, we could do something like this. I could say, okay, well, I'm gonna go to Lakeland. Then I'll be above Lakeland, so we'll go ahead and put Lakeland in the airport in there, not the VOR. And we're continuing on here. This is a very popular jump zone, Zephyr Hills. It shows the parachute there, but a very popular jump port, so we'll be watching for that. And then we'll continue on here, just looking, and we're into Ocala. So nothing too terribly crazy here. Anybody have any questions? Airspace-wise or anything like that? Did I confuse anybody? Did I use terms, right? When I mentioned VOR earlier, I'm talking about this compass rose here, VOR, very high omni range. We use that for navigation, and most of you know what a VOR is there as well, but just so you can kind of plan and anticipate that. Another means. Now, what if I was doing this? Let's clear this route out here. And let's say I was doing this in the IFR environment, and then we'll get back to some weather-related aspects of all of this as well. So if I'm in the IFR environment, I'm going to do it the exact same way. I'm going to go from KAPF to KOCF, and I'm going to go ahead, and I know where to fly preferred routes and everything else, but let me tell you, you're not going to find in your, whether it's your US chart supplement or whatever it is, you're not going to find your preferred routing from Ocala to Naples or Naples to Ocala. Preferred routing comes out of the busy airports like that. You know, and even going back, if we can go back to the iPad and look here, you can even go and say, okay, let's look at routes on the top, towards the top right corner there. I can click on routes that have been approved here. Look, they're showing me the hurricane again, Magda. So I can look and say, okay, they're recommending Rogan. That's great, but that's at 11,000 feet. I fly at 172, that's not gonna work. Here's a preferred route that they offer. Lakeland to Varzy, 12,000 feet. I mean, again, I could try that, but again, I'm not going to 12,000. I don't think I've ever taken 2D Mike Zulu to that altitude. So let's look at some recently ATC cleared routes. This is really, really fascinating. And by the way, I know I'm showing this on ForeFlight, but all your apps do this. They all have this data. They will show you recently cleared routing, how many times it's been cleared, etc. So let's look at it here together. Look at this first one. This is Rogan to Lakeland to Varzy, 6,000 feet. That doesn't sound so bad. And look, you can see someone was just cleared last Saturday. This route's been cleared 107 times total. Turboprop, pistons, jets, all from 3,000 all the way up to flight level 320. So, okay, that sounds kind of promising. Here's another one, Rogan to Inpin to OCF. And you can kind of see, but then I look at Rogan to Inpin to OCF and I go, well, but do you see that's only turboprops? And that's only up to start at 17,000 feet. So that's not me. Here's another one for pistons. So make sure you're looking at routes that are appropriate to you in that case. And when I find one that I like, Rogan to Lakeland to Varzy, well, then I can go through and select that route. And let's look at that now here together. Now I'm in the IFR environment, so I'm no longer concerned about this Class Charlie airspace. By the way, has anybody ever noticed this? And shame on the FAA, right? On a VFR sectional chart, what color is Class Charlie airspace? It's magenta. On an IFR low en route chart, what color is Class Charlie airspace? It's blue. It's blue with a blue dashed line around it. Like who was on the symbology committee differentiating charts? That's just my frustration. You know one committee I want to be on one day? The IFR Fix Naming Committee. That's my dream. Who names some of these? Like Magda, let's look at some of these. As we're flying, like who? I feel like they just throw letters together. Surface, right? They're just making some. Jocks, at least you can spell that one. Tubba, Rinse, Simi, Gnarl. Who would have put a G in front of Gnarl? If they told you, if they said AJ Martin, proceed direct Gnarl, how would you have spelled that? Probably not with a G, and you've been fighting with it the whole time. I don't get it sometimes. Here's D side. We also have a B side, as if that's not confusing. Hey, put it in the chat. If you could name a fix, what would you name it? And you can't name it Jason. That's already a fix in Hawaii. I looked it up, and it's a dream of mine to fly to the Jason fix. You only get 5 letters. Anyways, while you're typing that in, let's look at our route. Up to Rogan here. From Rogan to Lakeland, as you can see. Lakeland to Varzy, and Varzy on a tango route. You can tell it's a tango route because it is blue here, all the way up to OCF, right there. We can file that, and we're not always going to get it, but it could happen. Look at some of these fixes. Can you put the chat back up, Magda? Fix name, I lost. That's good. Fix it. Dahar, I mean, that makes sense. Cessna, but with 1 S. Joseph, of course you would. Tacos, is that a real fix? Hold on. Tacos. T-A-C-O-S. Tacos. Tacos is not a fix. That is very much available. It's like getting a good.com. Someone said where. That's a good fix name. Where. W-H-E-R-E. Where. Where is not a fix. There is a Saint Somewhere in Grand Junction, Tennessee, though. You guys are coming up with good ideas here. So anyways, that's how I would do it in the IFR environment. Someone said M0. You got to get the A in there, but it's too many letters. It's too many letters. I'm telling you, if there is an IFR fix committee, I'm going to ask you all for a letter of recommendation so I can get on it. We would fix low en route charts everywhere. All right, now let's do the exciting part here. It's time to actually look at the weather. And I don't mean just looking at the weather by coming over here and slapping on the radar. Because any of us, you don't have to be that bright to slap on the weather and go, yeah, today's a no-go day, right? It's just that simple. We're not doing that as well. Someone picked the fix name Gassy. Sorry, little boy in me cracks up at stuff like that. You can't just look at this though and work and make a decision. We need to work through an actual filing of this. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna come over here to the flight plan. We're gonna work through this here together. We do need a pack for our route. What does it mean to pack for our route? It means we have to download everything that's appropriate to our route. Now you can see here, this is a route I fly a lot, so I'm basically pretty much ready to go. I've only got a few 18 megabytes worth of weather, some fuel prices, and some NOTAMs. So you're gonna go through, you're gonna pack everything, and again, it's gonna come up here in a second. I'm only doing this live because there's hardly anything there. We are all packed, we're good to go. That needs to be a part of your iPad pre-flight. Is the thing charged? Is your Stratus charged? Is it all packed? Whatever that may be, you need to have literally a checklist for flying with your tablet, flying with your EFB in there. From there, we're gonna come over here, we're gonna send to flights. From flights, we're gonna go ahead and we're gonna click on briefing. We're gonna give this a second. This could take a little bit to load here. So you're stuck looking at me for a second while this actually loads. And then what we're gonna do is we're gonna go through this actual briefing. Question for you. Is the briefing I'm pulling up right now, just a simple yes or no in the chat, is this a legal briefing? You see, there's a regulation called CFR 91103, required pre-flight action. You know it best as NW, Northwest CRAFT with a K. I've been teaching that acronym for a very long time. Required pre-flight action. What I'm required to do, and one of those is to become familiar with the weather in there and really all available information. Is what I'm doing here live with you right now, is this a legal briefing to check that box? And again, we're not in the business of just checking boxes, but we do need to do that as well, and then do something with the data. What is the answer? The answer is a resounding absolute yes. Yes, it is. Now, that is assuming you are logged into your appropriate flight service account, so everything is being contributed to you and tagged to you, Jason Schapper, 23 Mike Zulu, at 8:35 on the 28th, whatever day this is, got a weather briefing. That makes it legal. Now, to Jamil's point, many other people's points in the chat I see over there, while it's legal, there's something still profound about calling up and listening to a briefer and getting their opinion as well. You've got to realize that these briefers are weather professionals themselves. So again, sometimes has anybody ever heard the words VFR flight not recommended? Who's been flying long enough and called enough briefers to hear the phrase VFR flight not recommended? And I'll tell you, that is a humbling thing to hear sometimes. You go, listen, here's a weather professional. They're not even getting in the airplane with me. They don't have any skin in this game, and they're telling me, yeah, you probably shouldn't go, kid, right? There's some power to hearing that. And nowadays, when we just do electronic briefs, we don't get that kind of feedback. But many of you are like me, where you grew up in the days, back in the olden days, when this was life, right? Now this is just really fun wrapping paper for presents, and you called a briefer on the phone. You can still do both of these things, but technology is certainly outpacing it. And again, you have to realize the briefer is here to help you. They are not here to ruin your plans. I often think, JFK Jr. never called to get a brief, never filed a flight plan. And I just wonder if he heard those words, VFR flight not recommended, would it have stopped him? I don't know that answer. Right? We can hypothesize all we want. But boy, there's something deep about hearing the phrase VFR flight not recommended from someone who's not even getting in the airplane with you. Anyways, our brief's been loaded for a while here. I was just talking. Let's go through it here together. So back to the iPad, we first land on our temporary flight restrictions. Although I always make the joke, there is nothing temporary about this flight restriction here. That is your Disney TFR. It has been there since 2002. It's the longest running temporary flight restriction to my knowledge, at least. But it's showing us our TFR. All right, continuing on here. And again, I have not looked at this. None of this is rehearsed here ahead of time, so this is all fresh. Closed or unsafe NOTAMs. We're looking, this is at APF at Naples. Runway 523 is closed daily between these times. Good to know. All right. And of course, there's going to be a lot of these guys here today. Here we have a convective segment. Question for you. What's the difference between a convective segment, a segment, and an air mat? Anybody want to type that in the chat for me if you so want? So we have a few convective segments here, and it's a beautiful thing now that we can see all of these visually. So previously you have to say, okay, from this corner to this corner to this lat and longitude, and kind of to draw where that segment is. Nowadays, if we can show the iPad here, you can just look and see exactly where these convective segments are living. General aviation pilots, is a convective segment anything you want to deal with? The answer should be a big, resounding no. A segment, whether it's a regular segment or a convective segment, they apply to all aircraft. Whereas an air met, well, your airliners are going to keep going even if there's an air met. You need to take a step back and seriously consider all air mets. But convective segments are like at this level. You know, air mets they're still close, they're still bad, right? What are our air mets? Our air mets are for turbulence and high surface winds. Our air mets are for IFR conditions and mountain obscurations. And then we have an air met for icing as well, something nobody wants to deal with. So again, they're slightly a step down from something like a convective segment, like we're dealing with right here, which is just that convective activity. So we can look at our convective segments, and again, I'm looking at this, and I know you all know this, it is a big absolute no. Let's hurricane aside, let's say I'm flying up to visit Joe and his ROTC kids up in Ocala. Joe, I would look at this and I'd say, listen, Joe, I know we've been friends for a while now, but listen, man, there's a big old convective segment spanning 5 states. I'm going to stay back in Naples. I hope that's okay. Now, continuing, we do have segments as well. Here is a segment for a cyclone. Yeah, great. It's out over the ocean. Again, doesn't apply, but you see. Now we can look at our air mets. Here's our air mets for IFR conditions. Now, this is not just IFR conditions. This is also mountain obscurations. That is not something we're necessarily going to get here in Florida, but you could have, California is famous for this, where it could be a VFR day, but a mountain is hiding in some clouds. That is a mountain obscuration. You could have a private pilot legally flying and inadvertently fly into a cloud that is a cloud of granite on the inside as well. So it's not just IFR conditions, it's IFR conditions and mountain obscurations. So we can take a peek at all of these here. And again, if you're a VFR only pilot, you can't fly in an air met like this. Most of it's hanging off the coast right now. As we know, the storm's getting closer to making landfall. Let's look at some icing air mets. Well, this is strange. It's August. How could we have icing air mets? Well, with a storm system like this, you certainly can at the higher altitudes. And again, you can click on this here to see a little bit more. You can read the narrative here as well. I mean, on a serious note, look at this. I know it's just barely kissing Tampa, but we are showing moderate icing. Do you see the bases there at the bottom of your screen? It says bases, 16,000 feet, tops, 30,000 feet. Let's look at another one here. This one goes even more over the state. Again, 16,000, and I know you're not flying at 16,000 feet, but let me tell you something. If there's ice at 16,000 feet, there could just as easily be ice at 10,000 feet. That's how Mother Nature works. And you could not pick up any ice all at the same time. That's a problem with a lot of this. I once heard someone say something dangerous. They told me they were getting ready to go fly, and they said, it's only green on the radar. I thought, it's only green on, wow. That to me is somebody who's flown through green on the radar before, and it was no big deal. In fact, I know those days, because remember how our radar actually works, at least ADS-B radar, and I'll get to this in a second. How it actually works is it's just showing precipitation. That precipitation, let me just, I don't want to get out of this. I'm going to come back to it. I can show you areas, even with this hurricane right now, where there's precipitation in the clouds, but it's not even making it to the ground. and you're flying through green, you're going, it's not that bad, man. It's gray up there, but it's not raining on me. And then one day, you fly through that same green, maybe it's darker green, and it's a downpour. And that green is about to turn into a yellow. Your radar just hasn't updated yet. Do you know what I mean? When they said that to me, I thought, it's almost like a hazardous attitude in a way. You get away with it. And you almost become normalized or desensitized. Where am I going with this? I'm going with, I just looked at this where it says icing from 16,000 to 30,000. And I can see somebody flying around going, I'm at 16,000 feet and I never even saw a bit of ice. Not even one snow cone in this airplane, nothing. And you know, maybe they were wrong. Maybe the weather report was wrong and the ice was higher and they never picked it up. And you become desensitized, going, they always say there's ice, there's never ice. And then one day there is ice. Or one day they say there's ice at 16,000 and they got it wrong and there's ice really at 10,000 feet and you're picking it up. You cannot become desensitized to the data. You have to look objectively at the data and see what it's really telling you. If you ever find yourself saying, it's just green on the radar, I just want that to be a gut check moment for you and go, okay, this could just be precipitation in the cloud. It could be green about to turn yellow. So I'm going to tread lightly here. I'm still going to go around. I'm still going to, whatever it may be. That's how I need you thinking here. Never find yourself using these phrases. I did an NTSB report, I won't get into it, but famous last words that the line guy came out. It was for, his dad was the governor of Missouri, Mel Carnahan. His son was the pilot. The governor was running a very tight Senate race, and they were doing like 5-6 campaign stops. It was the middle of the night. The line guy comes out to talk to the son, who's also the pilot. His dad, who was was the current governor at the time. And he says, man, the weather's really bad. The line guy's talking to the son, the pilot. The weather's really bad. And the son says, I've flown in worse weather before. And that was the last thing someone heard from him. And you just think these are like gut check kind of statements. And this is not even in my notes, so I don't even know why I'm sharing this, but I know it's just for somebody that if you ever find yourself saying this stuff, do not lower your standards. You know, what if a doctor lowered their standards and they were operating on you or a family member, right? Like, I've done this surgery 1,000,000 times. It's no big deal. No, that's my wife. No, that's my brother, right? It's very, very different. Approach it the exact same way. I've flown in worse weather before. That should never be in your vocabulary. Again, I don't know who that was for. I don't even know why I shared that. That was not in my notes. It just came out. Let's continue here. So we talked about icing. Can we look now at turbulence here? Turbulence low. Now remember, turbulence is not just turbulence. It's also high winds as well. So we can see here, we are showing moderate turbulence for a majority of the state from the bases at 0 up to 18,000 feet. Absolutely no thank you. Don't need to do that one at all. Let's just look at a few more for fun here. Again, 0 to 18,000 feet, from the surface to 18,000 feet. It's going to be a bumpy, windy day. There is no doubt about that. I know this doesn't apply to us, but let's look at some high turbulence as well. Moderate turbulence. Listen, moderate turbulence is just pushing through the entire atmosphere right now. There's a hurricane after all. And lastly, we can look at other air mets. Here's your high surface winds like we were talking about, and just showing you those there as well to deal with. All right, continuing on here. This is our surface analysis chart. I've done entire webinars on looking at our surface analysis charts, our prog charts. I won't get into these here, but we're just kind of looking basically at where the frontal boundaries are, where are they moving, high pressure typically good weather, stationary front typically crummy weather, lows typically crummy weather. A hurricane, after all, is a low pressure system. So, and again, if you need to learn more on this, I would highly, highly encourage you to hop inside the online ground school. I'm not here to sell you on anything. I want you to fall in love with myself, the M0A team, and my teaching style. M0atrial.com. Try it for free, and I'll dive deeper into this sort of stuff. Continuing next here. Now, don't show it just yet, Magda. Here's a common mistake people make. We've gotten away from the skill of deciphering and reading a METAR and what it really means to us. Instead, and I love technology, I'm not poo-pooing technology here. This is a whole webinar about technology. Instead, though, we've just gone to pretty green lights or red lights to show us, oh, green is VFR, oh, red is IFR, green for go, red for don't go. But Magda, can we show them the METARs visually right now? Team, if you didn't know there was a hurricane coming, and I told you this is the route I was going to fly, and if this was the only bit of information I gave you, you would go, huh, a VFR day. And you know what? It probably is VFR. But you've got to dig deeper. You cannot look at just one thing. You cannot just look at METARs. You cannot just look at prog charts. You cannot just do one particular thing. It is a briefing. You've got to look at the whole suite of weather products and assemble it all here together. We're going to look at METARs. We're going to look at PIREPs. We're going to look at TAFs here in a second. But do you see what I mean? If you just saw that, you'd go, it's green. Green means go. That's what I say. There is a hurricane that is not pictured here, that has not made landfall just yet. And if you just looked at METARs, you would make a really, really bad decision. Now, hopefully, and again, this is unrehearsed, hopefully here, got it, Magda? We can head down. Oh, okay, Naples is IFR. Phew. We can head on, or Marco Island is, sorry. You can head on down and read a little bit and go, oh, Naples produced a SPECI. What's a SPECI? You see the top? SPECI, S-P-E-C-I? What's a SPECI? A SPECI is a special METAR. A SPECI to me means, okay, something has changed significantly that the controllers felt it important enough to tell me. Because METARs update every 55 minutes, which is fairly frequent. If they need to update something sooner, a SPECI usually tells me, okay, weather's either getting worse or it got way better. There's really only two extremes to that. They don't issue a SPECI just for fun. It's a special report. So let's see what's so special about this one. All right, I know it's a little small on your screen, but I'll read it here for you as well. You can see winds 150 at 18, gust 24. That's pretty serious. 10 statute miles scattered at 2,600. Yes, that is legal VFR, but none of my private pilots out here should be flying around not only in that wind and not only in scattered 2,600. A SPECI for Marco Island, although that's 402 minutes old, so I don't even want to consider that one. And we can continue down here, and I just see RSW, light rain, but it's clear. I would look at this and go, it's not that bad. And you're right now it's not that bad. But let's continue learning here. Let's look at some PIREPs. Okay. Now we can look, here's how I feel about PIREPs. I need PIREPs that matter to me. What do I mean by that? A PIREP from a 737 at 30,000 feet does me no good. A PIREP from a 737 passing through 6,000 feet is going to help me a little bit. But not as much as something of my caliper and class. Show me another 172. Show me a Cirrus. Show me a Bonanza. That's what's important to me with that. So let's look at some of these. Okay, this is an SR-22, but it's over Palm Coast. See the little eyeball? That doesn't help me any. All right, again, over Daytona Beach, you're not helping me a whole lot. I'm worried about the weather to my left. Orlando helps a little bit here. But not a ton, as you can see here. That's an A306. Still not helping a ton. Here's a 738. Again, these are some big boys. Here's an A321. Let's just see what we can learn here. It's an A321 picking up light rime icing, but you're at 24,000 feet. I appreciate that. You just told me that air met for icing is legit, right? At 24,000 feet, you helped me with that. Thank you. But I'm not going that high, but it's just good to know. Let's see, I would imagine it's gonna be hard to find some PIREPs from aircraft of our type. CRJ-7 over Daytona. There's really, it's a bunch of 7 series. Thankfully, there is nothing in our caliper or class, piston single engine land flying, other than that SR-22, but he's way up by Daytona, even north of Daytona, St. Augustine area. That's not an issue. And in a weird way, that should be a sign in itself. Well, the METAR said it was all VFR. yet I don't have a single PIREP from an aircraft that I can relate to. Huh, that's interesting. And you know, I want to ask a question that Gregory thought of first, is honest question for us pilots. How often do we even give a PIREP when we're flying? You know, it's, how many of you have ever, type in me in the chat, how many of you have ever, let's get the chat back up, Magnus, so we can see this. How many of you have ever given a legit PIREP? Like called the flight service station and given a PIREP. Nowadays, you can do it with the controller, and usually that will end up in the system if they're not too busy. But the proper way to do it is through the flight service station. How many of you have given a legit PIREP? And again, I've done it. I've given them to controllers, obviously, before. They don't always end up in the system like this. Usually what I do is when I land, I call them up on the phone at 1-800-WX brief and give a PIREP that way. Again, we are a team. Like these names that you see up here are names you share the sky with. I guarantee you have been flying with these people and heard each other on the radios and didn't even know it. We're not just the M-Missouri Nation, we are a family. And one thing we can be getting better at is giving PIREPs. And here's the thing. Everyone thinks the weather has to be bad to give a PIREP. Here's my homework and my challenge to you. I don't care if it's clear and 10 and beautiful. It would be nice, someone else might find that information very helpful in their decision-making process. When you land, on your drive home, call up flight service. Hey, this is Jason Shappert in 23 Mike Zulu. I was just flying from the Ocala airport to the Williston airport and wanted to tell you there wasn't a cloud in the sky. It was beautiful and the temperature was 29. And it was a great day and I encourage everybody to go fly. Seriously. And then it's really cool to go on for flight and go, oh, look, there's my PIREP. You got to screenshot it, of course, just to see it. And people think, oh, it's so dumb. Why would you give a PIREP on a clear day? You know what? There are plenty of private pilots out there that would love to see your clear day PIREP because they'd feel a lot better about their decision. You got to think, there is nearly, between YouTube and Facebook simultaneously, there's over 400 people watching this live right now and thousands will go on to watch the recording. Y'all are a family. Let's start helping this family out is my point. So that is my homework to you all. Leave some PIREPs. All right, back to the iPad, please. Here we go. Over to cloud coverage. I love this chart. They did not have this chart back in the olden days when I was learning to fly. But if we look at our cloud coverage, you can tap on it to make it big here as well. And here's what I love about it. It gives me the tops. It gives me the tops. So I know what's actually happening there. So when I look and I go, whoa, these tops are up to, 36,000 feet. Like these are some legit storms. Let's see if I can get some ones closer to the hurricane here. Get you some more impressive things. No, nothing. Oh, here's a good one. When you see a cell that is at 45,000 feet, you're going to go, this is a no-go. And that's going to be a nasty, nasty storm. As opposed to, hey, look at this guy. Broken 17, tops only at 4,000. Now, he's still a broken cloud, but he's not a monster by any means. You could probably get over this layer here. And if you're IFR and you have to go through it, it's not a super nasty layer, right? Like not these big towering cumulonimbus clouds. So I'm always looking for that as well. What's the ride going to be like? There is no way I'm going through a cloud that's going up to 45,000 feet. I don't think I've ever done that in my life, nor will I ever do that in my life. I don't care which airplane. If I'm on an airliner, they better not do that, right? But if I'm in a, flying IFR, I don't have a problem with this guy here. Broken at 17, tops at 4. It'll be a little bit bumpy because it's Florida in August, but that's not a big deal for an IFR pilot and a good airplane with a good autopilot and everything else. So I really love watching this to see what's happening there. For the sake of time, because it's almost 9 o'clock here and I want to keep moving forward here, we can then look at our VFR surface winds and precipitation. You can see our little turbulence markers. You can see how the wind is really starting to move around Florida there now as well. Here's the big one, TAFs. Now TAFs are starting to show something different. I don't see any IFR stuff, super IFR stuff though here. I see a lot of marginal VFR. again, you could look at this and go, oh, it's not that bad. So you get into the gusting of the 35 and everything else, as you see there. So again, don't be deceived by this sort of stuff here. Our wind chart. This is why I have such an amazing, look how that wind just forms around. Isn't that so fascinating? This is why I have that amazing tailwind, which looks like it'll be dying out just ever so slightly the closer I get into Ocala. But very, very cool to see that for the altitude. Next one, I've done an entire webinar on this little guy here. I don't have time to get into it here. This isn't even the best one to actually use because there's no turbulence shown here. This is what's called a vertical cross section chart. There's an entire webinar on this inside the online ground school. And what this is showing you, I'm surprised it's not showing you even all the turbulence they were talking about. You read this from left to right. So you can see the tailwind across. You can see the altitudes we're going up to. You can see if there's any terrain we'd be dealing with down below, and it's a little hard to see there, but any fixes along the way. Again, you read this from left to right. And then if there's turbulence or icing, as you can see the little buckets there, I call those, upside down umbrellas, it shows it to you in a color form here. And this is what's called the turbulence EDR. EDR stands for eddy dissipation rate, and this is what I like. Because turbulence is a tough thing to measure. Because what is light turbulence for a 737 could be moderate to extreme turbulence for my 172. So same thing, if I'm looking at a pi rep for a 737 at 6,000 feet experiencing light turbulence, I'm gonna go, that's a way bigger plane than I'm flying. If it's light for him, consider it moderate for me. Do you know what I mean there? Because it's just, I'm a much lighter airplane. As opposed to what EDR, eddy dissipation rate is that, listen, this is regardless of what kind of airplane you are, this is the intensity of the turbulence. Now, it will affect each airplane differently, but a 1 on the eddy dissipation rate scale is a 1 across the board. And in fact, anything in the 0.1 to 0.2 category is going to be real bumpy for even a 172, where it won't be bumpy for a 737. Do you follow me with that? So great chart to use there. Unfortunately, we don't have any turbulence shown here. Let's go back to the iPad, Magda, and let's keep moving forward here, just for time's sake, because I realize it's way past my bedtime. I don't know how it snuck up on me. I am a professional talker by trade. 6,000 feet is our altitude, John Dela Cruz, so you can see that there. Showing us our 6,000 feet. That's what we filed, John, so that's why it was showing you the winds at 6,000 feet. And it's showing it to you here. We saw the graphical version of that earlier, and then from here we're seeing it in our textual format. So we can kind of look at different altitudes as that shows us there. And then we end strong. I won't read them all to you, but it's going to end strong, showing you all your destination, departure NOTAMs, en route NOTAMs, service NOTAMs, airspace NOTAMs, etc., etc. Again, I'm breezing through this for time's sake, but you're going to have to take the time to read through this and know what you're actually reading here as well. And then before you know it, you're all the way back around to the beginning. So, Missouri Nation, knowing what we know, seeing what we see. Can we show it one more time, Magda? Put it in the chat. Go or no go? If anybody says go, I hope they're just being funny, because there wasn't a single pi rep for any aircraft we could even relate to. Put it in the chat. Go or no go? Magda's got the chat up there. Go or no go? I want to hear it, but I think I know the answer already. If you type in anything other than no go, I'm going to put you in timeout. Along with Gavin, he gets in timeout sometimes too. It is absolutely a no-go here today. Hurricane, whatever. Even if that hurricane wasn't there, just based on all the stuff that's happening. But listen, this is the thing. Did you see the green dots on the METARs? Did you see even just the marginal VFR on the TAFs? Did you look at the cloud coverage when I showed you that top was only up to 4,000 feet, right? The data can be deceiving if you just go buffet style to it. Weather is not a buffet. You've got to start here and you've got to finish here. You can't go, oh, I don't like that, so I'm not gonna look at that. Ooh, green METARs, give me more green METAR. Like, you can't just look at it that way. This is not a buffet when it comes to weather. So the solution is, well, I wouldn't even say go by car. I think you just cancel your meeting or you do it on Google Meets or Zoom. I think that's what you have to do. You know, this is true of everything, but selective information, buffet style information, it's not only dangerous, it can be expensive too. So you just got to think about it that way. So listen, show of hands, type at me in the chat, who learned something here tonight? Was this worth your 1 hour out of your beautiful Tuesday night? I certainly hope it was. I'm going to open it up for your questions now. Questions, comments, concerns, anything you want to talk about. While you're typing in those questions, and hopefully you enjoyed this a ton, if you are not an online ground school member and you learned something here today, imagine what you could be learning as you prep for your private, your instrument, your commercial, your CFI written test, check right. And most importantly, I hope you realize we're in the business of making you a safe, real-world pilot in everything that we do. So I hope you'll check us out, m0atrial.com. Take a free 2-week trial to check it out and see if M0A is the right online ground school for you. Let's head over. Thank you for all the kind words. Thank you, Greg. Thank you, Brett. Thank you, Bruno. Thank you so much. Really appreciate you all. Let's take some questions here. Type them in. There's 400 people here. I'm not gonna be able to get every question, but I'm gonna do my best to get every question here. While you're typing those in, what exciting stuff do we have coming up, Magda? We got some new giveaways. I can't announce it just yet. Coming out for September. Some more great content as well. We're gonna be doing some remote pilots, some drone stuff as well in September. So some really neat things to be sharing. My biggest takeaway for you all, I hope, this is stuff you got to practice, team. You can't just wing it, pun intended, through this. I hope you're sitting down on your couch doing these types of briefings and working through it that way. So great stuff. All right, let's go find some questions. By the way, we did just launch our brand new CFI course. Thank you to everybody. Very, very well received with that. We just launched that at Oshkosh. John Dela Cruz was one of the first success stories through there. So John Franco said, any trips to Aurora anytime soon? I don't know when they're going up there to get those RVs, but that got a little bit delayed. But I'll keep you posted, Mr. Franco. Great to see you. Anastasia, great to see you as well. Old Line Aviation, Jason, last time I was on here, I was just an official student. I'm now a certificated sport pilot. Golf clap. Congratulations, my friend. Awesome. Awesome. Thank you for all the kind words here as well. Shane said, can you do something similar for using EFB for instrument? Yeah, I mean, we could go really deep with it. Make sure you've downloaded Paper to Pixel, not just Shane, but everybody. We dive into a lot of IFR topics in there as well. But yeah, we plan to have some IFR series coming up as well. So username JetJock, great to see you. Did you discuss how to update weather while in flight? I did not, but listen to this. And I talk about this in the Paper to Pixel book. You're not going to get LTE up there. You're going to need to have some sort of source of ADS-B weather. Now that could be linking right into your panel. That could be linking to a Stratus or a Sentry unit. But one thing you need to realize, in-flight weather is amazing. But did you know a fast return, meaning a fast refresh of the weather, is 8 minutes? That's considered fast, meaning the green and yellow and red on your screen could be as much, this right here could be as much as 8 minutes old. And if it is, that's considered good. So this is why I don't like when people say, oh, I'm gonna find a hole in the weather. Let me tell you, if you're looking for holes in the weather, that's a hazardous attitude in itself. But if you're looking for holes in the weather, in 8 minutes, there was a hole there 8 minutes ago and it's since closed up. Right, so I love in-flight weather. I use 2 ADS-B sources, the panel and a Stratus, just to get some different information. It's powerful, powerful stuff. So username just another guy. You know what? I don't think you're just another guy. I think you're a great guy. I learned so much from your Check Ride audiobook, Passive Flying Colors. Well, thank you, my friend. We passed over 1,300 5-star reviews on Audible the other day. Very, very cool. Marty Miller says, absolutely, if you file IFR, that would give you your clearance into Class. If you had filed IFR, would that have given you your clearance into Class B? Yes, on an IFR flight plan. I should have mentioned earlier, VFR, I need to hear those magic words. A username positive rate of climb are PIREPs and area forecast reports in MSL. Well, remember, area forecasts no longer exist. FAA got rid of area forecasts. PIREPs, you gotta remember the aircraft is flying, so they're giving you their altitude. So yes, that's gonna be in MSL. Patrick asks, how do you give a PIREP? There's a few ways. If you're on flight following or on ATC services through on an IFR flight plan, you could say, hey, this 2D Mike Zulu, I've got a PIREP for you. They're gonna say, go ahead. And you just tell them what you see. Clouds are probably scattered at 3,700 feet. Temperature up here shows 29 Fahrenheit, and the ride's smooth. And they're gonna say thanks. It's that simple. So you can do it that way. Now, that does not always end up in the actual flight service station system. Sometimes it just lives on that frequency, which isn't a problem, but that doesn't help everybody in the future. The proper way to do it is to call the flight service station via the radios in the aircraft, which is a bit of a pain. I've typically done it after I land, on the drive home, call up my 100WX brief and leave a PIREP from there. Yamil said, if you're on with ATC on flight following, do they clear you through the Bravo? They could, but you better believe it more times often than not, I ask as I get closer. Hey, Tampa approach, 2D Mike Zulu, just want to confirm I'm cleared through the Bravo. Oh, 2D Mike Zulu, you cleared through Tampa's Class Bravo airspace. Right, that's simple. Greg said Sirius XM weather or ADS-B weather. Man, if you can get both, get both. In the Sirius, I'll use the XM, still bring my Stratus to have ADS-B, and I compare the two against each other. You know, one will update faster, refresh faster than the other. Really, really helpful. So, Dan made it to CFI in May with M0A's help. Good to see you again, Dan. Awesome, awesome. Yes, I see many of you asking for an IFR session. That is certainly something we can do as well here. Yes, Leah, we do offer a free trial of the CFI course, so m0atrial.com will get you a free trial of a few lessons of all of our courses, so you can see that. On YouTube, would it be a smart investment to buy a simulator? I was just talking to Wendy, was her name, and she might be on here, online ground school member. Love the idea of a simulator. Honestly, if you have a good enough computer, just use your computer. Something like X-Plane or Microsoft Flight Simulator. It's come a long way since what it kind of took a downturn there for a bit, but it's gotten way better. I still like X-Plane a hair better. And then a good yoke and pedals. I like the honeycomb system, but there's plenty of good ones out there as well. All right, John Dela Cruz has a great question. On the ForeFlight radar, how do I tell the altitude of the precipitation? Well, let me show you something here. Can we go back to the iPad Mag? You can leave the chat up. I'll bring everything to that side of the screen. It's not as easy as you would think, because remember, everything is three-dimensional here. So I could zoom in and I can see the tops of these cells, 30,000 feet, 25,000 feet, 40,000 feet. Like you can see the tops here, John, but then I'd have to go back into the imagery and I'd have to look at the clouds to actually then go and actually be able to even see, okay, where, that's not going to give me anything great here as well. No, that's about as close as I'm going to get to see where those bottoms are, where those tops are, and just know that there's precipitation in there as well. So that's going to be the easiest way to do that, if that helps any. Eric Pittman, I saw In-Flight Coffee coming back soon. Yeah, we're not going to do it this month because it's Labor Day. Mag and I were talking about bringing it back probably in October. I think it's going to be a good idea. She's neither giving me a yes or a no, so I cannot confirm that. I take that back. It might be October. You know how it is when Taylor gives you a look, Eric. Like you just, yes, ma'am. That was that look, Eric. So just so you know. But In-Flight Coffee will be coming back. I thought it was going to be October, but I got a look. So we'll have to see. All right, other questions, other comments here. Yes, Chris, you get a full brief. Chris on YouTube, and then you can file as well. And you can file that out as well. I'll ask, do I use the Windy app? I love the Windy app. Not an aviation app, but boy, is it cool. And my phone's way over there. Let's show it to you. Fun app to utilize. All right, and you can link ForeFlight with, I saw, Joe, your comment there in Ocala, linking ForeFlight with a simulator too, for our simulator folks. Great stuff there. All right, let's find some others. A 75-year-old rookie pilot with a 77-year-old Aerocoup. I like that. I like the attitude of a 75-year-old rookie pilot. That's some humility right there. I like it. Never too young, never too old. B-Rad, great to see you at Minefield as well. Thanks for laughing at all my crashes. We're compiling the footage now. I was at a drone event last week and I had a few promising crashes, let's say. I'm a way better manned pilot than I am unmanned pilot. That's how I feel about it. All right. Looking for just a few more comments, questions. Rex, if you're interested in prep for your commercial oral exam, I hope you have a copy. And this, again, I'm not selling you guys anything here. I'm just trying to deliver value. We do have an amazing book, Pass all the check rides. Pass your private, pass your instrument, pass your commercial pilot check ride. My friend, I'm telling you, grab the audiobook. Go on Audible, just type in Jason Schappert. All 3 audiobooks will come up there. And I read the question, pause for a second, and let you go ahead and type I was just doing a mock check ride earlier. Think of the correct answer in your head. There's a lot of things in my head right now. So that is that. Username Certain Reef said, just joined, but don't you have a hurricane to worry about? We just did a whole weather briefing on it. We're good. It's going to be a rainy ride home, but we're good as far as that goes. Thank you for all the kind words on the audio book. Magda's telling me let's go home before the storm arrives because let's look. Let's see how much longer can this webinar go for, Magda. I'm that little blue dot right, where am I? I'm that little blue dot right there. But Magda, it's just green on the radar. See what I did there? That's a hazardous attitude. Don't do that. We should go home soon here as well. So listen, this is recorded. So if you need to come back, watch this again and again, send this, share this with somebody who needs to hear this message as well. Y'all are such a blessing. Truly, just so thankful, so blessed, like to spend time. It doesn't feel like we have a job. Like we get to hang out with you all and talk about airplanes all night. Like it is so cool. So thank you for subscribing, for liking here on YouTube. Thank you for the kind words. I personally go back, I read every single comment. So even after we sign off here, feel free to leave some comments as well. But it's getting late. We got to go buckle down. There's another rain band coming from this hurricane. So thank you so much. Thank you for all that you do. Thank you for staying up so late and doing all these things. Well, you know, you're doing it for us and we are doing it for you because family takes care of family. Have a blessed, abundant, outstanding rest of your night. And most importantly, remember that a good pilot is always learning. Have a great night, everybody. I'll see ya.